I'll go ahead and turn it over to Crystal Lett. Crystal, thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Again, my name's Crystal Lett, and really for me, being a parent is the most rewarding job that I've ever had. As parents, we want to do everything that we can for our kids and make sure that they have the care and support they need to grow up healthy and safe. But, right now, there are too many barriers making it harder for Ohio families to get ahead. Parents or guardians shouldn't have to choose between quality childcare and paying for groceries, or between paying for a doctor's visit and paying for prescription drugs. As a mom to 3 kiddos, I know exactly how hard that can be. My husband and I really carefully planned when we would have children, but what we couldn't plan for was that our first child was born with a really rare genetic disorder that results in medical complexity and global developmental delays. And this threw our family into a very scary situation. We were scared for our son's health, for his quality of life, of how we would be able to afford his medical bills, of affording childcare, and of having enough time off to be able to facilitate his care. And our fears were very quickly realized as my job didn't offer any maternity leave, and I utilized all of my FMLA to take care of him in the NICU, and then to take him to follow-up appointments with his 11 different specialists. We also realized that we could no longer find a childcare placement for him that offered both the quality of care that a medically complex child requires and that was affordable for 2 parents working in the helping professions. So I made a non-choice, if you will, to leave my job, and since then have been working both full and part-time as my son's care allows, all while hobbling together childcare the best that we can. It's only because of investments in middle and working class families that we were able to survive. We utilized CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program, to help afford our son's medical care. And quite frankly, we relied on family to help support us financially until we could get back on our feet. And it's only through the investment of others that we were able to get ahead. But even now that we're more financially stable, we still feel the intense burden of expenses from healthcare and childcare. We pay as much for our health insurance premiums as for our mortgage and have an $8,000 deductible, making it very difficult to afford the quality of childcare that our kids deserve and making it difficult for us to save for their future and for our own retirement. Middle-class families are having to make impossible choices about taking care of immediate needs and planning for their future. So that's why I'm really grateful that Joe Biden is investing in Ohio families and putting meaningful policies into place that will help make it easier for families like mine to not only make ends meet, but also to get ahead. It's way, way past time for things like comprehensive paid medical and family leave in this country, and for common sense investments in childcare and universal pre-K. These are common sense solutions to a lot of the major problems facing families in our state. So I'm looking forward to hearing what President Biden has to say in Cleveland tomorrow. And I'm so hopeful that we can take the partisan politics out of these issues and come together to support the policies that President Biden has proposed.
Crystal, thanks so much. We will go ahead and turn it over now to Senator Nikki Antonio. Senator, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. We're really looking forward to hosting President Biden in Northeast Ohio tomorrow and hearing about his plans to invest in Ohio families, which is critically important to me. Ohio families have already benefited so much from President Biden's leadership, and Ohio leaders are just getting started. With the passage of the American Rescue Plan, Ohio is back on the road to recovery with $1,400 checks to help Ohioans make ends meet, tax cuts for working class families, including a fully refundable child tax credit, and the resources needed to reopen schools safely, which is critically important for our families. But as President Biden said, it's not enough to return to normal, whatever that was. We have to build back better. Even before the pandemic, as Crystal pointed out, the cost of childcare and education was way too high. And that's why he's introduced proposals that invest in Ohio families and build our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. With his American Families Plan, President Biden is investing in free community college for 2 years for all Ohioans, universal high-quality preschool for more than 280,000 Ohio children, and affordable childcare. These are the kinds of investments that will help Ohio families get ahead and make our state a safe and better place to live, to work, and to thrive. I am very excited that Ohio will be welcoming the president tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to the continued work that his administration does to really help Ohioans, as we said, not just get on their feet, but build back better and look forward to a better future for our families, especially for our children. And with that, we'll turn it over to Representative Stephanie House.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. And thank you so much, Senator and Crystal. Thank you so much for sharing your story. So it's always, I think, it's always, I would say, refreshing to know that you have a leader that would recognize what has happened, in our country. We know the pandemic has upended people's lives. But one of the things in particular, we talk about this pandemic and how it really has shifted people's lives. But many people's lives have really been unsettled even before the pandemic, right? And Cleveland is actually one of those places. Northeast Ohio has been one of those places where things just weren't right. And when we look at the American Rescue Plan and the investments, it is specifically looking for families. We've talked about, the investment in child nutrition that will be so beneficial to many of our babies and families who too many times go to bed hungry. Recognizing that investment, which is a basic necessity, where people don't have to stress about how they're going to provide food on the table, because through the American Rescue Plan, those opportunities are there. There's also, one of the things if you're in the policy world like me, when you look at some of the guidance that has been provided, it's encouraging to see that, communities, governments have an opportunity to really, we've been hearing about this thing around social equity and making investments in places where we might not have done it before, and seeing that the guidance has been put out to do that, it really is encouraging. We know that we have had a lot of businesses that have been disconnected for opportunities, and now that governments have the flexibility to make those investments, I know they'll be very welcome, through the relief efforts. And so as we and Northeast Ohio welcome President Biden to our community, we really want to hear, moving forward and giving us probably a little bit more direction to some of our local communities on what we can do to not just ensure that people can be stabilized, but really make sure that we can begin to have some innovation and creativity to really put communities on a brighter path and a bolder future than they were in the time past. So I know we are arms ready, really welcome the president to come to Cleveland, Northeast Ohio tomorrow, to really let people know that you have a government, you have a president that heard our cries and really wants to have that partnership necessary. So, and to have the flexibility so that communities can make the necessary investments that they can to really build back better. So again, thank you for joining. I appreciate being able to join and really have this pre-welcome to President Biden and his administration. And now I will turn it back over to you, Matt.
Thank you, Representative. For media on the call, if you just want to type your name in the chat box, what we'll do is just call on folks individually. So we'll give folks a second or two to type their names and then call on folks as their names pop in. So feel free to type your name in. Any questions from folks? Go ahead and type your name in the chat box. Yeah, Spencer from Hannah.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Yep.
Will any of you be meeting with the president when he comes in tomorrow? I'm not exactly sure what the itinerary for that is.
I'm not quite sure what the itinerary for that is either at this point, but we do know that he's coming to the Cleveland area. And so we're very happy, all of us, to welcome him.